We've helped hundreds of couples and relationships as coaches. There's one thing that we've seen every single time is that every couple fights. Every couple fights.
Look at us, we're already fighting.
Well, that's what we do. We fight.
But the ones who last, they fight fair. I'm James.
And I'm Teri, and this is Marriage Health. We used to, and sometimes maybe even currently, have those door slamming, sleep on the couch, arguments, just like you.
Us?
Yeah.
Yes, we have. We want to talk to you about how those kind of fights can become something that bring you guys actually closer together.
Seriously, if you're navigating money, stress, parenting, disagreements, just
the top 10 list.
Time change. Yeah. Why do we still have the time change? There's some practical strategies, and honestly, I think even just some, compassion that we want to be able to give to you today.
So let's pause that silent treatment with each other, all right? Come on. Grab your partner that's nearby, bring them in, sit down and watch this, and let's turn your conflicts into the biggest relational strength you've ever experienced in your life.
How to solve conflict in a relationship.
How to resolve relationship conflict.
It's called the I'm sorry technique.
I'm not a fighter, I'm a lover.
I don't know, because if you're a lover, you gotta be a fighter.
How so?
Because if you don't fight for your love, what kind of love do you have? No.
Without communication skills, without conflict resolution skills, your relationship dies.
When you're in the heat of a fight, do you have a tendency to explode and say things that you don't mean?
In arguments and in hurts, I suggest that you not think of yourself as the person who has the right measurement stick.
I know there's someone listening here who's like read material, or someone's given you this great skill and you're like, but it didn't work.
Didn't work.
And you're feeling like, I just feel so frustrated. I want it to be fair, but it's not, because it doesn't always work. Because it's so frustrating. I know for years we were like, what is wrong with us?
Yeah. It's like we're running around in circles the whole time.
Absolutely.
We had the privilege of going to John and Julie Gottman's house this last year, and sat with them for a couple of days with a few other couples, and
it was really great.
It was pretty cool. Yeah, got to hang out wherever in their house except their bedroom. We didn't go there, and
it was
pretty singing cool though,
yeah.
and a beautiful house, by the way, on Orcas Island. But the cool thing is they made a comment that we are, as a couple, is to move into this win-win kind of mentality.
Here's how you fight right. You fight to understand, not to win. You want to have conflicts not be a win-lose contest where one person wins and the other one loses. Sure, persuasion is important, but the first step in conflict and fighting right is to go for mutual understanding. That's the goal of conflict. Conflict has a purpose and a goal. And if you aim for mutual understanding and stick to some of the specific recipes that we suggest, then you fight to understand. And once you fight to understand and you really understand your partner's position, and your partner really understands your position, then you're about 95% of the way towards solving the problem, solving the conflict. That's only 5% of it. 95% is mutual understanding and respecting your partner's position enough to really ask questions and want to know the answer.
See, if you have a win-win mentality in your relationship, in your marriage, or wherever you are, then what happens is sets the groundwork up better so that you have an opportunity to actually succeed. But so many of us, we're wounded, or we've had things happen to us, or there's insecurities, you don't feel safe, or whatever it is. And so there's always a win-lose relationship outcome in the relationship. And you might be on the losing side. And so all you do is shut down, and you don't open up and allow yourself to engage it. And so you'll just kind of reserve and kind of go quiet and not engage it. So it's a win-lose. Or you might be on the opposite side where you puff up because you're so scared. Like I have been in my life. The only reason I puffed up, that sounds right. When I puffed up in life is because of fear. And you might think, well, that's just an excuse. I hear that all the time on our show. Is it just an excuse? No, it's not an excuse. That was my reality. I was scared. Right. I was scared. And so I would puff up. So I would protect myself at all costs. Well, even I would protect myself from the person I love the most, who actually would bend over backwards for me, that would actually come to be a part of the place where I was afraid of, but I was like a badger and I would push everybody away. Well, that is a win-lose, okay? That's when you want to be on that winning side, but the other side to be losing because you feel intimidated, threatened, and I just want to say that win-win mentality is really a concept that if we can back up a little bit and just say, gosh, how can we win here? Because we are called, you and I are called to cross that finish line together. Yeah. Not for me to step on you or you to step on me to get to the finish line, but we're called to step over that finish line together. Right. And so many people today are looking in their relationships that if you get my way, I'm going to step over you or on you to get to that finish line. Yeah. But if a win-win mentality is, how can we join together and make it through and press through that finish line together, which is pretty powerful.
It is. And it's hard. Yeah. It's not easy. Yeah. So if you've tried and it's been hard, please know that we completely understand. And, it's about process. Give yourself some compassion here. Of course, a win-win is the ideal. Fighting fair is the ideal. Mm-hmm. And so we're going to always push for that. We're going to, make the, the effort for that. A really simple way to kind of do the litmus test is if I'm standing on a chair talking down to my spouse, already it's not fighting fair situation. If I feel like my spouse or my partner is standing on a chair and talking to me and I'm below, then we're already imbalanced and it's not going to end up as a win-win. Mm-hmm. So just an easy way to kind of regulate that. And if when I feel that, I'm okay to go, hey, pause, I'm feeling talked down to, or, hey, you know what? I actually think that I might be dysregulated enough that I'm like pushing you down, or I might be, freaking out right now. And I want to hurt you, right? Yeah. In a verbal way. So I don't want to do that. So I want to get off that chair and I want to do that. So, use that chair analogy that might help you.
You're painting a picture of two partners that are willing to be curious about it. And what if there's one partner that just says, I'm not into it and I'm digging my heels in, I don't care anymore. And they're fighting tooth and nail within this relationship, and they're not willing to come up and show up. Right.
Well, I'm sure that most people have gotten to the point where they realize that you can't really make anybody do anything. You can't force somebody to do anything. That a boundary is in and of itself something that you choose to do. So I may have to have a boundary where I step back, or we, talk through what might need to happen in terms of getting some support alongside of our relationship to help us get to that point. But, if somebody doesn't want to show up with, if you don't share the value of, being respectful or trying to fight fair, then that's, you're not going to achieve that. Right. So you just have to know the reality. Like we want to pretend like the reality. We live in a world where we just want to take everything, all of our energy to change something. Mm-hmm. And we're so good at that. But the bottom line is that we can't change others. Yeah. And so sometimes we have to get to the point where we realize, hey, we still have power in our own choices, and we can get the help that we need and the support. And maybe, starting that course of action might make sort of a ripple effect. Or we both have to choose that maybe there's a little deeper work that needs to happen before we can solve some of these, issues with our communication.
So it's important though, if it's in a volatile situation like that, I'm not saying abusive, I'm just saying volatile, because that's a whole nother level.
If it's unsafe,
abusive, it's unsafe, get the heck out of there. Yeah. But on the other hand, if it's volatile and they're not able to even have healthy conversations, it's good for them to actually get somebody involved though. somebody else inside the picture. So there's an advocate on both sides, because obviously, Brene Brown says it great this way: don't puff up, don't shrink back, but stand your sacred ground. Okay. And I think there's a great concept there. So many of us, we want, if we feel unsafe, we're going to puff up, or we'll just shrink back, but we have to have a safe environment to actually deal with this, because you think about a marriage who they've been married for 8 years or so, and they're repetitive in how they're dealing with their conflict with one another, and their communication sucks, and they're not able to communicate. And then all of a sudden they're like, it's hopeless. We'll just become one of the statistics. Rather than stepping back and allowing somebody else to come inside into the picture with you to say, hey, let's work on this.
For sure.
And let's start to be able to navigate. There's two sides to the story here. There's two sides to the story. If one's puffing up and one's getting defensive, one's kind of clawing at the walls, there's a reason for it. And there needs to be a grace to that so that we can actually deal with that. But this on the other side is we need to protect the other person who might feel unsafe and they're not able to get to the point where there is actually a healthy relationship and healthy communication.
For sure. Yeah. A mediator, a support,
a coach or whatever.
Exactly. Yeah. For there to be accountability is huge. Yeah. It's absolutely, we got to remember communication comes out of what's ever deep inside.
Totally.
What's inside is going to come out. Like communication is the vehicle. So we get really freaked out that our communication's off, and actually we just need to sort of take a deep breath and get to the point where we can just, calm ourselves, get comfortable with the reality that maybe there's something that just needs some ministry or some help, maybe some support inside of my soul. My story needs to have some TLC around it, or my partner, the same thing. We just got to remember communication is often just a litmus test of kind of what's going on in the inside. So when it's not going real well, there's usually a reason for that, 100%. Right? All kinds of reasons. And so there's compassion there, but there's oftentimes such a need for good accountability and support in that. And there's nothing wrong with that.
That's right.
It's awesome. That's like the highest level of journey, is saying like, I recognize this and I can't do it alone.
And remember, the goal is not solving the conflict, it's dialogue, so that you're no longer gridlocked, but you can talk about this and you can have a sense of humor about it and you can be affectionate with one another.
We found in our research that 69% of all problems that couples struggle with are perpetual issues. They never go away. They never get fully solved. And that's because they're based on either differences in personality or differences in lifestyle preferences. So we have a number of ways of helping with conflict management that we found in our couples who were successful.
69% of what you and I are going to fight over, it's going to be happening for the rest of our lives.
Yeah.
And so learning how to deal with that, oh my gosh, man, can you put that in perspective? There's a reality of that perspective, though.
Yeah.
It's not going to change the situation.
No,
but it will change how we address that situation.
Yeah.
And that means you and I crossing that finish line together.
Yeah, exactly. And I choose.
Yeah.
I choose to do that.
If you're needing help today, you know what? Click on the link in the description and you can actually connect with us directly. And I mean directly, because anytime that anybody clicks that link, it goes directly to us so that we get to see what you're saying and look at how we can actually come alongside you and help you right where you are.
That's right.
Don't waste a moment. Click on it right now and engage with us.